All right, let's just jump right in. Everything we do in the digital world, and I mean everything, from our banking to our crypto portfolios, is built on one single massive assumption, that our digital locks are unbreakable, that our encryption is, well, permanent. But what if I told you that entire foundation, the very bedrock of our decentralized world, is about to become obsolete? Today, we're going to dismantle that illusion of permanent security. You know, that's not some line from a sci-fi movie. It's a quote from a software engineer who's right on the front lines of this thing. We're talking about the arrival of powerful quantum computers that can literally shatter the math that protects trillions of dollars in assets. And this isn't some far-off theoretical problem. No, this is a very real race against a clock that has already started ticking.
So to really get a handle on what's at stake, we're going to break this whole thing down into 5 key parts. First, we'll look at the problem itself, why our current cryptography is on a timer. Then, we'll get into the threat that's already in motion. After that, we'll explore the global race for a solution, the huge challenges that come with it, and finally, and this is the important part, we'll lay out a real actionable playbook so you know exactly what to do, whether you're a developer, an investor, or even a regulator.
Okay, so first things first, we have to understand what we're working with right now. The security of the entire digital world, especially crypto, is built on a very specific kind of math that we have trusted for decades. It's the silent guardian standing watch over your wallet and every single transaction on the network. And that guardian has a name: the elliptic curve digital signature algorithm, or ECDSA for short. You can just think of it as the secret sauce behind Bitcoin and Ethereum. Its power comes from a kind of mathematical one-way street. See, it's super easy to go from your private key to generate your public key, but it's basically impossible to go backward. When I say impossible, I mean a classical supercomputer would need literally longer than the age of the known universe to crack just one key. And you know what? For a long, long time, that assumption has been totally fine. That hard math has been the absolute bedrock of trust. But here's the catch. That whole model, our whole sense of security, hinges on the limits of our current computers. The problem is, a brand new type of computer is on the horizon, and it doesn't play by the same rules at all. So let's meet the villain of our story, the quantum computer. And more importantly, let's talk about the specific weapon it has in its arsenal, the one that poses a true existential threat to every single one of our current digital locks. And that weapon is called Shor's algorithm. Now, what's wild is that this isn't new. It was actually discovered way back in 1994. It was the theoretical key that could pick the locks of modern encryption. But now, with a powerful enough quantum computer, it's not theoretical anymore. It doesn't need billions of years. It doesn't just guess faster. It changes the whole game, turning that impossible math problem into a totally solvable puzzle. It just shatters our digital safes. And this, right here, brings us to the most dangerous part of the quantum threat. See, it's not about some single Q day where everything just suddenly breaks. The attack is actually already happening. Adversaries, and we're talking nation-states here, are actively vacuuming up and storing huge amounts of encrypted data as we speak. They are stockpiling our financial transactions, our private messages, the entire history of every public blockchain. So let's walk through this because this is so important to understand. Step 1, harvest. They are just grabbing everything they can. Step 2, store. All that data gets warehoused, just sitting there. Step 3, wait. They're just playing the long game, waiting for the quantum hardware to catch up. And then finally, step 4, decrypt. Just think about what that means. Any piece of data created today that you need to keep secret for, say, 10 or 15 years, your long-term Bitcoin holdings, for example, is already vulnerable from the perspective of the future. This harvest now, decrypt later attack means the threat isn't just coming, it's already here, silently building. Getting your head around that is step 1. And hey, if you're finding this useful for protecting your own assets, do us a favor and help spread the word. Take a second to hit that like button, subscribe to Digi-Gold for more deep dives like this, and share this explainer with anyone in your community who needs to know what's at stake. All right, so the threat is very real, and it's happening now. But here's the good news. The world's best cryptographers saw this coming. They've been working on a defense for years. This isn't some secret war. It's a huge, public, coordinated effort to build a whole new generation of cryptographic shields. And the main arena for this fight has been a global competition run by the U.S. National Institute of Standards and Technology, or NIST. You can think of it like the cryptographic Olympics. For the better part of a decade, they've had teams from all over the world submitting new algorithms, which are then ruthlessly tested and attacked by everyone else, all out in the open. And in August of 2024, we hit a huge milestone. NIST published the very first official standards for what we call post-quantum cryptography, or PQC. And here they are, the first champions to emerge. We've got ML-KEM for encryption, and for digital signatures, which are absolutely critical for blockchains, we have ML-DSA, also known as Crystal's Dilithium, and SLHDSA. Now, these aren't just patches. They're totally new systems built on different kinds of math. Instead of that one-way street, they're based on problems that we believe are incredibly hard for both our current computers and future quantum computers to solve.
So you might be thinking, awesome, we have the new algorithms, let's just plug them in and we're good to go. Well, if only it were that simple. This isn't like a routine software update on your phone. This is the single largest, most coordinated cryptographic upgrade in the history of the internet. And it comes with some serious costs, so much so that some people are calling it a defensive downgrade.
And this slide right here shows you the core problem perfectly. A standard signature on Bitcoin or Ethereum today is super small and efficient, around 64 bytes. But the new standard, a Dilithium signature, we're talking about 2,400 bytes. That is a massive, massive increase. And on a blockchain where every single byte costs you money and takes up precious space, that has huge consequences. Yeah, a 37-fold increase. Just let that number sink in for a second. This isn't some minor performance issue. This means fewer transactions can fit in a block, which lowers the network's capacity. It means more storage is needed for everyone running a node. And for you, the user, it means significantly higher transaction fees. You're basically being asked to pay more for a transaction that clogs up the network, all to stop a future threat you can't even see yet. And that gets us to this huge problem, the pain versus gain asymmetry. Think about past upgrades. When Bitcoin got SegWit, users got lower fees. When Ethereum had the merge, users got staking rewards. There was always a clear, immediate benefit. But this PQC migration, the only reason to do it is to prevent a future catastrophe. For the user today, there's no upside. There are only costs. And that makes it an unbelievably difficult governance challenge. Why would anyone agree to pay more today for a benefit that might not be realized for a decade? And all of this puts us on a terrifying collision course. On the one hand, you have credible roadmaps like from IBM saying a quantum computer that can break our current crypto could be here in as little as 4 to 10 years. On the other hand, a realistic timeline to migrate an entire major blockchain, factoring in all the debate, the technical work, and getting users to actually switch over, is probably closer to 10 to 15 years. The math is brutal. The threat is on track to get here before we can get the shield fully in place. Okay, I know that was a lot of doom and gloom. The challenge is huge, I get it, but it's not impossible. In fact, a ton of work is already happening that makes me really optimistic. So let's pivot. Let's talk about the solution. What can we actually do about this right now? Let's break it down for everyone involved. Okay, for all the builders out there, the work has to start today. The goal here is something called crypto agility. Basically, the ability to swap out these algorithms like you're changing a tire on a car. Simple things like adding a little algorithm flag in your key management system right now can save you a world of pain later. And things like hybrid signatures, where a transaction is signed with both the old and the new algorithm, are a genius way to build a bridge to a quantum-safe future without breaking everything for current users. Now for the investors. It is time to add a new question to your due diligence checklist. What is your quantum-ready roadmap? And don't just accept some vague answer. Ask for actual dates. You need to start thinking about crypto agility as a fundamental measure of risk. A project that is ignoring this is carrying a hidden liability that could literally send their assets to zero overnight. And finally, for regulators and big enterprise teams, your job is to drive the market. Government mandates in the US, like National Security Memorandum 10, have already set a 2035 deadline for this stuff. By writing these new NIST standards into government contracts, you create a powerful incentive for the whole industry to get moving. That top-down pressure is what protects everyone from the bottom up. Look, this quantum transition is one of the single biggest challenges our digital world has ever faced, and it's going to require action from absolutely everyone. So if this explainer helped you understand what's coming, please empower your network by sharing it. Hit that like button, subscribe to Digi-Gold, and drop a comment below and let us know, what is your biggest question about this whole move to post-quantum security? Because ultimately, this is the question we're all left with. The new standards are here. The roadmaps are being drawn up. The tools are being built. So the choice is pretty clear. We either adapt now, or we face a complete systemic failure of the trust that holds this whole thing together. The clock is ticking.